Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello and welcome back.
So Florida is known for its beaches, but now, you never know what you're going to find on that beach.
I know, now that has this here landmine thing. Wow.
Yeah, it's a Navy target mine which shut down a Florida beach, and it's the latest military device to wash ashore, and they have no explanation. It is labeled inert. Still, I don't think I'd want to find that on the beach, I'd rather find some interesting seashells, or maybe a starfish to throw back. But yeah, they could not immediately determine where the mine came from. And so this was over at Lauderdale by the sea, not too far from Homestead Air Reserve Base. Boy, we heard some really big booms, and it just seems like we always end up close to bases where they're doing things.
I know. It's like a curse or something. I'm not sure.
Yeah, there was like 6 massive booms that we experienced that could only be military testing. Are you guys seeing anything? I mean, we had a photo sent in by one of our family members that was passing through the south. We'll just kind of like leave it at that. And it was a very humongous military craft with a drone attached, it looked like.
Yeah, it was really creepy looking.
It seems like there's been all sorts of preparations underway for quite a while. And here we see mothership or anti-piracy cargo vessel attack on an Iranian ship in the Red Sea raises questions. Well, if we go to DEPCA, we see that they just come right out and say, yeah, that was Israel that was doing it. We've seen some cargo vessels that were owned by Israel be attacked. So there's this. I was saying to Cindy, I feel like the covert war is well underway, and I know there's always things happening out there in the world that we don't know about, but it just feels like things are really starting to escalate, to say the least.
Well, wouldn't it help us all if we just knew exactly what's going on so we know what to prepare for and when?
Yeah, that unfortunately is never a top priority. Like the military phrase, it's not even military, it's a corporate phrase many times, need to know basis. You don't need to know that. The public doesn't need to know that, even though the public is affected by everything that goes on here. And that makes me think about Steven Seagal's movie Above the Law, because it does feel that there are this group of beings that feel that they could make whatever laws they want and are well above the law, and we should not be able to even speak up and question.
It does feel like that.
And there's another one. Ours is but to do or die. Yes. Just think about that. Think about the blind acceptance of things that people have had for so many years. And, I remember my mom, who grew up as a teenager in World War II and used to row rowboats out to wave goodbye to the subs heading out, and have fun riding in their wake as they went through. But always calling it the greatest generation. And I think in so many ways, we've been very, very naive. And I think the naivete is leaving many people now.
Yeah, it is. It's people are waking up. People are realizing that they've kind of been duped.
So according to DEPCA files analysis, this ship, the Savis, was in position for gathering intelligence relevant to any planned Iranian Sea or land Red Sea region aggression, including Israeli or Saudi coastal targets. The Biden administration jumped the gun in publicizing Israel's role in the attack for its own ends, coincided with the opening of the first indirect talks between the U.S. and Iran, brokered by the EU in Vienna, and through back channels to revive the 2025, and that's an interesting year, nuclear deal. To which Israel strongly objects. U.S. officials released the story as a warning to Israel not to spoil the diplomatic tract. Iran, normally cagey or slow to acknowledge Israeli military strikes, got in fast with a cursory report by Tanzim All this indicates a tidal shift in the tactics used in the Israeli-Iranian conflict, to which it has been ongoing in a relative minor sort of way, which can change any time. Most significantly, the focus has moved from Israel's campaign to wipe out Iran's land bridge through Syria to a drive to disrupt the oceanic bridge through the Red Sea. And the Savi's attacks substantially knocked up the recent intensity of the conflict. Most of the sea attacks until now involve civilian shipping. Israel reportedly struck a row of Iranian Syrian-bound oil tankers in the Mediterranean in 2019 and one last month. This year, Iran hit 2 Israeli merchant vessels in the Mediterranean and the Gulf of Oman, but each time the target was military. A ship called in the U.S. report a covert IRGC forward base, so to speak. And by the way, the Suez Canal traffic was briefly stopped as an oil tanker loses power. So all these things, coinky-dinks.
I know. There's just too many things thrown in the pot there.
I don't think they're coincidences. Not at all. And I really don't believe in coincidences when you get down to it. Taipei reports 15 Chinese planes buzzing its airspace as U.S. warship enters the Taiwan Strait. And, this, if you read on down and read through some other, I'll give you guys all the links. There was a report that came out that is saying, and it's from the U.S. military, that they used to think China would move on Taiwan within 6 years. They think it's now within 3 years. They think especially likely that 2022 time frame. And to jump into something a little different, that Pluto transit, which is occurring for the U.S., that's basically the peak time frame, 2022, 2024. And so the U.S. is changing. Everything is changing, obviously. The world's changing. The world's power structure is changing. And there are most definitely beings that are clutching on and trying to maintain complete control and even let go of the charade of not having control in some cases.
Mm-hmm. Right. There's just so much going on here. And it's going to become clearer and clearer as the days go on about what exactly is going on.
So, they say that this is probably dry run because, you have Taiwan holding drills, simulating an enemy invasion. The thing with China and the reason why they think that they would speed it up is because, Taiwan would be able to get more and more entrenched than they currently are, which would end up meaning China would pay a higher price when they do move. And also the fact that Taiwan's weaponry is increasing as they, keep bringing in more weaponry, and they would be able to inflict much more damage on China's mainland as well, not just defending themselves, but also inflicting damage, on the Chinese territory directly across from them. As you see, this is out at South Front, which is analyzing the situation, and basically experts are saying that the likelihood is that we're moving closer towards this. As you see, Beijing accelerating timeline for possible invasion of Taiwan, so warns experts. And, when they've done this multiple times, you have 20 Chinese military aircraft, including 4 nuclear-capable bombers, 10 J-16 fighter jets, 2 Y-8 anti-submarine warfare aircraft, and a KJ-500 airborne early warning and control aircraft. They all entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone, largest incursion ever reported. And you have China and the U.S., just kind of like trading barbs, and the U.S. maybe boycotting the 2022 Olympics, and, China saying that will cost them, basically not militarily, but economically, sanctions, and Taiwan saying they may shoot down Chinese drones in the South China Sea. But this isn't the only area that we're really concerned with as well. because we have all this going on over in the Ukraine. So you have all these war games going on right now over there in the Pacific, around Taiwan, and Japan as well as militarizing rapidly, getting ready for something. And then we have over here the whole Ukrainian situation. Washington sends more military transport aircraft to Ukraine, but cannot explain why. And you have the Defender Europe games going on with tens of thousands of troops. So you have tens of thousands of troops in both potential theaters that are right now conducting military exercises. And we know the Russians have these hypersonic weapons that move so fast that they don't think there's any way you could really get much of a warning or stop them. And so the U.S. has tested, but unfortunately it failed for the U.S. The booster flight test failed for their first hypersonic. And of course, humanity doesn't want any of these things. When you talk to the average people around the globe, they just want to live their lives in peace. Again, this is a symptom of sick leadership across the entire planet. Leadership that doesn't care about humanity, doesn't care about anything living on the planet, all about their own power, greed, and ego, and carrying out a very, very diabolical agenda.
It really is, and that's what makes me so sad, is that people like me and people like you guys, we don't want this. We just want to have our gardens. We just want to help, be part of a bigger something that's greater than ourselves and do good things. We don't want all this.
No, this is, again, this is the symptom of a dying Kali Yuga, a dark age, unenlightened age led by very unenlightened beings that are completely egocentric, power-centric, as Russia and China are saying they won't create an Eastern military bloc to rival NATO because exclusive clubs are counterproductive. There's exclusive clubs that are running this whole show. Very exclusive. And, it's through the greed that they, get humanity, some of humanity, to just fall in line, with a very inhumane, not only mindset, but plan for the planet.
And that's right.
As you see, there's very little coverage of the major Russian military mobilization underway. And as we had said before, and many people are saying, you don't see Russia bluff. So when they're moving stuff into position, it's because they have a purpose. Now, Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union, and of course the USSR broke up. But here you have the Ukrainian officials saying the only way that peace can be reached is by the Ukraine joining NATO, which would be, something that would, you could say, like, what if Texas broke away from the U.S. and then decided to join Russia? It'd be kind of like that type of feel, because it's right there, right within striking range of Moscow. So most definitely it's something that would make Russia tense. And of course the puppet masters at the very top know all these things, and they've been trying to orchestrate these things for a long time. And the only hope we have is to wake up people, especially wake up people that are actually in these militaries, and you get them to recognize you're not working towards the greater good here, you're just being a pawn.
Well, yeah, and I think that's part of the reason why they're moving AI in more and more and more, taking over, humans' ability to do things, because they realize that humans are going to wake up that are in these positions, and they might not do what they want them to do.
And then it won't matter, because they'll have the drones, they'll have those, dog-like robots. And we saw, as we shared with you guys when we were leaving Nevada for good, we saw 4 of them on a transport that each one of them was as big as a tank. And these things were robots. I don't even know how to put it. They look like those giant dog robots, but they're the size of a tank. We saw 4 of them that were probably, coming from Nellis or going to Nellis. So, that's the future envisioned by these powers that be, is everything will be policed ultimately by things like that. Kind of a RoboCop dystopian vision for the world.
Yeah, that's kind of a sad vision. So we got to make sure we keep our intent out there for a happy ending.
Yes. Again, we can't just stick our heads in the sand, otherwise we'll be caught off guard and we won't know what's going on. We won't be prepared at all. And of course, we want to prepare as best we can, for each other, our families, our loved ones, and to keep waking people up, because it's going to take an awakening to change things.
Indeed.
So thank you guys for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Make sure you are subscribed. And if you enjoy the content, please do thumbs up and share. As always, guys, God bless and namaste.
Namaste.